For my part, I want to talk about being a founder and how that started, and kind of take you through my eyes as a young man and what I was thinking at the time that this NeoLife, as we know it today, started. So if we go back to Porterville, California, I'm so happy to have some people here. Keeman said hello from Porterville, Lindsay, Strathmore, Ducor, Terabella, Cotton Center, don't forget, okay. Visalia, okay, and so on. Delano, wow, and then yeah, I couldn't think past that because Fresno and Bakersfield too big, okay, for me. Just too many people, too busy, whatever. But anyway, I saw the business. You all maybe know the story. You can hear it from others. But my brother Bob and I attended a presentation in Tulare, and it was at I think it was the center there. There's right near Mooney Boulevard and the road that goes to Strathmore, and there's a center there that you can get a free room to have a meeting in. So at the time, and so we attended a meeting, and I was 19 years old, and decided to join. And then Bob also, I signed Bob up. I was a little faster, but I'll join, and Bob, I'll sponsor you. Okay, I wish Bob was here so he could hear me, but anyway, then I borrowed the money, $50 from Bob, which was not, that's when I was surprised Bob loaned me the money, because Bob was earning 70 cents an hour as a TV repairman. He was replacing tubes in TVs. You check the tube, and if it was bad, you replaced the tube and you repaired the TV, okay? Now you just throw away the TV and get another one. So it's changed. They don't fix them anymore. But anyway, it takes a long time to save up $50 to loan me, and that $50 in today's money would be maybe $400. So that's about what it was, getting $400 from Bob if he was making, $1 an hour or $10 an hour rather. But anyway, that's how I started. And so then I founded my business. It was a distributorship, right? And you have founded yours. And let me tell you my vision, because I've had people come up to this convention and say, wow, what an incredible vision you had. Thank you for this vision that you had, as a young person. No, I didn't, I have to tell you. My vision, we'll call it, was when I saw the marketing plan, and there's a really powerful element of duplication in direct selling, in our network marketing, that you don't ever forget, and that is this duplication of I can sponsor someone, which I did, and they know somebody that I don't know, and they sponsor that person. I can help them. But then that opens another door for me, and then there's a certain power in that. If you put incentives behind that, then you have a chance for a real powerful explosion of growth. Things have to be right, but it happens. So my vision was I'll get some people right here in Porterville, and this thing could expand out to Lindsay. It's 10 miles away, okay? Strathmore was sure, because that's on the way to Lindsay, halfway. Terabella, the other direction. Cotton Center, Tulare I could still think about, and Visalia, that was the big city in my vision. And so that's what I saw. That was enough to motivate me. And I didn't think about Los Angeles, San Francisco, another state, anything, because I really didn't want to go there. Okay, so this wasn't, so you see my vision was, now as you realize, as you have a vision, a goal, or a series of goals, and you start putting that into reality, as it starts to happen, unfold, you're able to increase your vision. Okay? It's progressive. You can't think, there's no way I could think about where we are today. It just would have been impossible. If someone had even said it to me, probably would have been frightening. I don't know. I couldn't see it. I didn't have to see it. So I saw that, within a 30-minute drive, excuse me, of where I was living, still, at home. And then as that started to happen, all of a sudden, one of my distributors said, I know somebody in Bakersfield. Well, there I go to Bakersfield. Now, I knew Bakersfield a little bit. I wasn't afraid of that because I was selling furniture part-time for a furniture store in Porterville. I was a delivery boy in the part of the time, and then I was selling furniture, and I was a low guy on the totem pole, we'll call it. And so there were 2 more salespeople, and when they had customers, if I wanted to hang around when there were no deliveries to do, if they had customers and a 3rd one came in, I could take the 3rd one. Okay? Well, when I got a customer, I really treated it right. And the first thing I try to do is I'd say, look, and I'd go around with, normally the woman comes in to shop and she would look around. I would say, why don't, here's my card. And and I would have on there, I had Jerry Brassfield, blah, 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 interior designer. Self-appointed, okay? And I would say, why don't I come, I see what you're wanting here, why don't I bring some samples, I'll come over and I'll look at your living room and we'll have a look and we'll sit down and discuss it. And so I'd get them away from the store so the other guys couldn't bother them. And then I would go deal with the customer. That's how I started selling. And so, but that was a step in the direction. So I'd already been to Bakersfield because the owner of Weatherby's Furniture Store, folks, still there, right? Blackstone Boulevard, is it? Is it on? Yeah. Anyway, I go down there and they bring me in for the weekends and they'd have these big promotions with spotlights and people would come from all over the valley, and they had country western bands there, Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard, all these people were playing all night long, and people were coming in, and so I would sell furniture on the weekend, okay? And then my little business that I was the founder of, I would deal with at other times, all right? Now, but this started to spread, and all of a sudden, I had distributors in San Diego, okay? I decided then to move to the Bay Area, San Jose, and then I started to get distributors there, and each move, now along the way, the first company went bankrupt. Now this is a very traumatic thing, okay? If, tomorrow's newspaper says NeoLife goes bankrupt. Now imagine what you'd be doing and explaining to the people that you've brought in about, well, I'm sorry, I thought they said no debt, okay? if you can just put yourself in that position and feel the embarrassment and the shame, and your whole world gets rattled. And at the time that happened, I probably had about 150 people in my team. So I knew I liked what I was doing, so I looked for another company. And in fact, my upline sponsors started a company called AdMark, Advanced Marketing, okay? What it stood for, still a nutritional business. And so I joined and started there. It repeated itself. I continued on living in San Jose and building and whatnot. A year and a half later, bankrupt, okay? And so that's about the time that I decided to take what was left of my company that I'd founded, my distributor team, and by the way, I didn't get half of them. You know, some left me the first time, and after the second time, my credibility had sunk even lower. Can you imagine? I come back for the third time to tell you this was the real thing, okay? Okay? So now my vision had shrunk a little. Okay, but I managed to start a small company, and that company then didn't ever fail. Okay, but it was my original founding of my team and my distributorship that I carried along the way. And along the way, by the way, in one of those. The company that I joined the company, which I later owned, and this was called Best Line Products, and that's where I met John Miller. He was a college student working in the warehouse at night, cleaning the warehouse. Yeah. And brilliant. You know, I recognized right away that John was a very smart young guy. And so that relationship continues today. You're going to hear from John just a little bit later. But now, that's the business part of it. The personal, the health issue, very unhealthy, asthma, hay fever, living in the San Joaquin Valley. And just for people that suffer from respiratory problems, it's one of the worst places in the world to live, okay? And so, I mean, I had problems. Next door neighbor, Mr. Bland, you could hear him wheezing over there at night with his windows open. I mean, he almost died every year. So we all had problems, okay? So anyway, that's the health issue. My mother got me onto supplements. So when I was introduced to, at 19 years old, I had some health benefits. And so it was easy for me to say, yeah, I believe in these things because I had improved. Not totally cured, but improved. Just getting the right nutrients and getting away from my mother's Southern cooking. It almost killed me, my father. It's true. It was fried chicken, chicken fried steak, chicken fried gravy, fried potatoes, you know, homemade ice cream, you know, and homemade biscuits and homemade butter. And I'm making myself hungry right now because it's part of my my DNA and my gene pool. Just when I think of those things, I got to have some of that right now, you know. I almost had a fit yesterday when we talked about homemade ice cream, you know, and wow, I was thinking, oh, my mother made homemade ice cream daily. And my father demanded it. You know, in fact, along with that would be blueberry cobbler and peach cobbler and you name it, and fried apricot pies. If there's a possibility to fry anything, she did it, okay? My father got seriously ill and had to go to, the local doctors couldn't help him. And he was failing, and they said, it's got to be something, could we get him to a clinic? And I got him into Stanford. And I'd go up to visit him, and the first day I go in there, and I said, how are you doing? He said, well, okay. But he said, they're about to starve me to death in here. I said, so then I go the next day, he was a little bit better. Go the next day, a little bit better. And then finally he's fine, and they're starting to give him a little food and things, and they'd been giving him fruit juice and whatnot. I met with his doctor, and I said, what's the diagnosis? And the doctor said, well, his diet is killing him. And all we did was, stop giving him all that bad food. He told us what he eats every day, and so it's totally plugged him up and everything, and nothing was working, no digestive system, no anything, right? And so all they did was stop putting my mother's food in him. And that cured him, okay? So, uh-oh. I see some people doing like this, to the... Okay, let's go a little bit further now. That's the startup, but the message there is you're a founder of your company, and you hear that, you're independent, you're a founder of your company. Start thinking of it that way, and then get help. And the help, look what happens when if I go out looking for a leader in the scientific advisory board capacity, I would have never picked John Miller, who's cleaning the warehouse. Okay? It's just not going to happen. And if I would have said, John, do you know anything you understand nutrition? No. So if I'd been looking for someone who understood nutrition, I wouldn't be John, right? But guess what? John became an expert. John is very educated today. John, I don't want to pick on you, but you're so easy to pick on. Kidding, John. Joke. So anyway, out of the people around me, okay, just the people, ordinary people, and this is my message yesterday was, don't look for the person that's already developed and the businessman, the go-getter and all that, is... look in your team and then create an atmosphere so that they can become what they want to become. Now, let me give you some examples. As my business grew, I had some very high-profile people who were developing, because they were all very young. When I was, 28 years old, 27, an older guy was 37, joined my team. His name was Jim Rohn. Yeah. Jim Rohn's messages today are still as relevant as they were at that time. He was so good as a speaker. We encouraged him to become a speaker, okay? At the same time in my team was a guy, Les Brown, that I hadn't met yet, okay? And then Jim Rohn recruited Tony Robbins, okay? Yeah, pretty good team, right? Well, good team for the short term, but not for the long term, because I created an environment that they could become whatever they could become, and they become motivational speakers, known worldwide, okay? In fact, Jim got so developed and good and everything that I started a company called Adventures in Achievement. Bob and I, my brother, and we had a set of tapes, Jim Rohn tapes. And those tapes we sold. You remember Louis in Africa? They were on our sales aid list, Jim Rohn tapes. And we have people still have those tapes today in Africa. Who has them? Shirley has those tapes. Shirley made this trip all the way with me, as she said, when she was a little girl, okay? You know, she was a gorgeous little girl, just let me say that, okay? Working in Chicago, you know. Anyway, she was right there. But anyway, this trip, when Jim Rohn wanted to leave, he wanted to go out and be a speaker, at that time, I was not smart enough to keep Jim involved. Okay, I fumbled the ball there. And so what I did, and Bob, we just said, you know, here, Jim, here's the company that we started. Here's Adventures in Achievement, your tapes, everything. We didn't charge him anything. We just gave it to him. Because we could see but we thought that he would be independent out there and that we could then call him in at any time and help us. That would have been great, right? Another one of my distributors had started a company. Okay, he was downline. It was me, it was Larry Huff, who had started his own little company. I had people get successful and start companies, okay? Now, I think only this one that I was going to tell you about, Mark Hughes, he started Herbalife. Okay, he was successful, and he turns right around. He'd met Jim Rohn, and he hired him and paid him, and so Jim Rohn went to work for him, okay? So I call that a mistake. That's the one that I really missed when Jim wasn't with us, okay? But we remained good friends all the years until his death. So now, anyway, that's another, you can see by this time, Jim Rohn, these people, even Zig Ziglar signed up in my team. He didn't do anything. He was an Amway distributor. He left Amway, he joined, but he didn't stay around. He was already on his way being a motivational speaker. So now, guess what? Because, here's the second lesson. These high-profile superstars leaving me, did not affect me except on the very short term. Because they left behind other people that I could work with. Okay? Don't ever think that you're going to keep everybody that you bring into your team. They're going to develop in other directions. Everybody's got this little brain up there that's making choices for them, and it can span in any direction at any time, okay? It can go crazy. It can achieve sanity again. You know, it's in the world. It's in the United States of America, Mexico, Canada. It's in the Bay Area. It's in my family, okay? It works all the way down. You know, sometimes my family members will do things I don't understand, okay? You know, but, you know, we're still a family. And we get along, and they do things, come back around, and we keep going. So the NeoLife family started growing. We invested most of our money always back into the business. Okay? Ever since Kendra took over, she's been investing all the money back in the business. Kendra, when are you going to stop this nonsense, okay? When are you going to, well, but guess what? You know, under her leadership, she has transformed the image, the look, the feel, the research into the products. She's reinvigorated the scientific advisory board, new members, Dr. Liz Applegate, wasn't she fantastic, huh? Yeah. And I'm not, you're going to meet a new person that's is lining up to help us, and I won't say anything. I'll let somebody else introduce. Her name is Julie, okay? But you're going to meet her. I'm anxious to hear what she has to say. I haven't heard her speak yet, okay? But anyway, so today, the Scientific Advisory Board, well, as you can see, my vision was increasing along the way because Larry Huff took off. He went to Australia. From Australia, I met Graham Caldwell. Graham Caldwell wanted to go to South Africa. The business has spread up through Africa. Another distributor wanted to go to Italy. I followed over there to Italy. I followed my organization. Wherever it went, I tried to, even if I was spending money, all I was making, sometimes more than I was making, I tried to support that growth, wherever it went out there. Just follow it and support it. And that's how it spread. George Casale was a school teacher, not a businessman. He was an athlete. He was lined up to as an Olympic runner to run in the Olympics back in his day in the 100-yard. They call it the 100-yard dash at the time. And so he, now I think it's 100 meters, but he was very fast, and he had actually beat the guy that eventually went and represented us because he had a torn something just before he was going to do it. So George was a school teacher, high school teacher, and an athlete, and that's his life. He became a distributor, him and his wife Jerry, and he still works today. This is 40, whatever, many years later. This was, I don't know, count from 49 years George has been around. So he was in New York. He built a team in New York. He's Italian, George Casale, okay? Well, I said, George, why don't you go to Italy? Not as a company employee. I said, go there and build. Okay. He went there. He thought he spoke Italian, but he learned when he got there he didn't speak very much, and so he had to learn Italian. See, he wasn't, to communicate, he built a big team in Italy. He wasn't running the company. And then we had a guy that was up in Sweden because it has gone up there. It was a very small company, hardly any sales. And that person actually left the company, and he decided to go into the ministry. He left the company. And his name was Ola Mattsson. And so I said, George, would you go up there for 3 months and help get that company sorted out and get some new management and so on? And he said, yeah. So he left Italy, and he went up there by himself at first. And then he finally left out of there 20 years later, okay? See, they're 20 years. He's now fluent in Swedish, okay? He is fluent in Italian. He's fluent in Spanish. He's fluent in, of course, now, this is George, a school teacher that just kept expanding his own vision of his own. He's the founder. He then came, worked for the company, brought him back here because he's so knowledgeable. He served as the CEO for a while of the company, total company. And he then said, his doctor told him that the pressures of the CEO job was killing him. You got to get out of that job. George came to me and said, look, I don't want to leave the company, but this, I can't take it, you know. And so George was one of those guys that if you're sitting with him at a dinner table, his knee is bouncing up and down. He's high nervous energy. And George worries about everything. And when you're the CEO of the company, you got a lot of things to worry about. So, you know, it's very nice to have Kendra, you know, but Kendra is really tougher than George, okay? Really, believe me. She handles it. No fears. Anyway, that vision kept growing, We kept learning lessons. I learned to deal with people who left me, who didn't want to be around anymore. And I was always hoping that whoever they had gotten into the business, I would retain some of those and be able to work with them and grow them. And you know something? You can talk to any of these big diamond distributors, the president's team members, and they tell you the same thing, okay? It's part of the business. By the way, I have a Toyota store in San Jose, California. I invested in the auto business some 30-something years ago, and it's a big store. I actually have people that buy a Toyota and then leave and then go buy something else later. They actually don't stay loyal to Toyota every time they buy a car. Can you imagine? Okay. That's life. And that's the way it is. But you know what? Enough people stick around that we can have a convention right here in Scottsdale, Arizona, and we can have 500 plus people in the room, and we can have a great time. And guess what? This is happening all over the world. Now, you can also expand your business as the founder of your business to do the same thing. As big as you want to build it, but you got to go through those steps that George went through, you know, that Louis and Laverne have gone through, that the Gonzaleses have gone through, that, you know, everybody has gone through. You got to go through those things, and that I went through and I'm still going through. I'm going to be here as long as I have the health. God gives me the health, and my mind stays somewhat normal. I'll be here, okay? Because this is what I like to do. Have a good day. God bless. Okay.